Bye bye, Reebok. UFC released the new Venum payout tiers. The deal may be a little better for fighters, but this is still what's best for the UFC. Welcome back, bow throwers. This is Throwing Bows. Let's roll. I'm Jose. I'm here with Maria.
Hey, everybody.
And I'm here with John.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Okay, so let's just jump right into it. There's not much to talk about. There's not much fanfare or anything like that we need to go into. So let's just jump right into round one, if that's okay with everybody. All right, here we go. Let's play What's the Word? UFC 6 years sponsorship with Reebok is over, and good fucking riddance. There were issues from the start. Reebok misspelled fighter's name at launch, so Gilbert Melendez's name was Giblert or whatever. That was terrible. There were low fighter payouts, and the gear was unappealing. As a fan, I wouldn't get caught dead in the Reebok gear. And you're talking to somebody that I actually bought one Affliction shirt back in the day, and looking at it, I was like, oh man, no. But I wouldn't even be caught. I wouldn't even be caught dead in this Reebok gear. It was so poorly made, and they were trying to sell you these hoodies, and you're looking at the hoodie and you're I would never wear that anywhere. These are awful, and I hate your colors. So anyway, with that being said, let's get into it. John, the UFC Reebok deal was blank.
To quote the great Harley Race, the drizzling shit.
Okay. So your word is shit. Okay.
I mean, you could use that. You could use restrictive, oppressive, a bunch of words, because once that Reebok, because it was no good for anybody but Dana and the organization. A lot of fighters lost a lot of money because they couldn't put them on spots on the shorts or the banners anymore. And for a lot of fighters of a certain status, that's how they made their money.
Right.
Were the sponsorship and endorsement deals. So, yeah,
right.
Oppressive.
Right. I mean, listen, before we jump into Maria, to your point, when Jose Aldo actually had a Venum deal, and then at the end of 2015, he was pretty much saying, well, if I got to wear Reebok, what happens with my Venum deal? And Dana was like, I don't know, figure it out. There were a ton. There were a ton of people that had to figure it out.
Weren't him and JJ Nike athletes at the time too?
They may have been. Yeah, I don't, and that's just the thing. To your point, John Jones was keeping a Nike deal at the same time while the organization he was fighting for had a Reebok deal. It causes a lot of confusion, blurred lines, and it's just.
I think that could have been a decision on Nike's part because of John Jones's status to keep him on as an athlete.
Okay.
Because even though he can't at official functions wear Nike gear.
Mm-hmm.
But at other things he can, and people know who he is, and they associate. If they know that he's with Nike, they'll associate the name and things like that. Especially if they come out with his own line of clothing, which I'm shocked they didn't.
Right. Well, and there's that too. I mean, yeah, you're right. Maybe Nike just did the cost benefit analysis and said it's John Jones. It doesn't matter. We'll still keep him. So, Maria, what is the word? The UFC Reebok deal was blank.
Let's see. I would say interesting. And the reason that I would say interesting is because this deal, being the first of its kind in the sport of mixed martial arts, has definitely lended to various narratives depending on who you are and how this deal has affected you. So, for example, Dana, back in August of 2020, right before, because we knew that the Reebok deal would be up at the end of the year. Back in August 2020, he made this whole big ass deal about how the Reebok deal was a home run. Mm-hmm. And he broke it down in a way where, yes, it was a home run for the UFC as an organization and not necessarily for the fighters. That said, though, you had two groups of fighters in this. You had the fighters who, like Ben Askren, like Darren Till, like, the great Jose Aldo, were very vocal about complaining about the restrictions around their personal sponsorships.
Right.
And then you had the fighters that decided this is the time for me to learn to be a better business person and build my brand and do what I need to do, i.e., Valentina Shevchenko, who has a million gun and like women's wear sponsorships. And you know this because every other post on her Instagram or her social media is her pushing her endorsement deals and putting that stuff in front of thousands of millions technically of viewers daily, and still continuing to get that sponsorship money. So I say the deal is interesting, or it was interesting, because while for my own personal narrative, I certainly would have agreed with John that it was kind of shitty and it screwed fighters over. But looking at it from the business perspective, everybody had a chance to get that little bit of Reebok money and still find creative ways to get all of that sponsorship money. The question became who was willing to invest the additional time to build their brand, to make those sponsorships meaningful, and who just wanted to show up on fight day with something splattered on their shorts and get paid for it.
Okay. All right.
Fair.
All right.
All fair.
Yeah. All fair points. Okay. All right. So that's the end of round one. And so now let's begin round two. The new Venum gear will appear on the April 10th event for UFC. Just like the Reebok deal, fighters are paid on a tier system based on how many bouts you've had with the UFC and whether you're a title challenger or if you're defending the strap. These are the tiers that Dana is going by. So interesting what UFC attached to this, though. Fighter mouthpieces have to be approved by the UFC upon check-in during fight week. So they've taken your banners down. You cannot just wear any apparel that you want to wear anymore. And now they're coming after your mouthpieces. So
they got to approve your flag too.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct now too. They want to be able to, even if you have a flag, it has to be approved. Even if that's all you have on your mouthpiece. So, let's play Your Honor. So, Maria, tell me why UFC fighters should be okay with not only having to wear official gear, but now what gets put on their mouthpiece having to be approved.
I think fighters that should be okay with this, because first and foremost, everything about this is really coming from Venum and not the UFC. And what I mean by that is the tiers were established by Venum, and they did them based on the previous tiers with Reebok. And I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later, maybe in the next round. But the fighters are seeing a little bit more money under the Venum deal than they were seeing under the Reebok deal. Additionally, I think that the thing with the mouthpieces makes a ton of sense, because at the end of the day, if you are trying to go the route as a professional sporting organization that many other professional sports, I'm thinking specifically right now, the NFL have gone, you want to make sure that you are honoring your commitments with your partners from head to toe. And so if that is the case, then there has to be an insurance, because I really do believe that while this deal is only like a 2 or 3 year deal, Venum puts out better looking product, period. So the UFC is going to want to have this deal grow, especially if it ends up being the win-win for everybody, because fighters like Venum gear, unlike the Reebok deal. So I think that, you've got to give a little to take a little. You guys wanted better looking gear. You guys wanted more money. If the trade-off is you just have to submit your mouthpiece at the beginning of fight week to get it approved, that should be a nominal thing considering the benefits that you're getting from this deal.
Okay. All right. And so very interesting you should say that it looks better. There is a photo running around the internet right now of Aljamain Sterling and Brian Ortega in what looks like to be the new Venum gear. It's pretty subtle, but to be honest with you, I kind of like it in its subtlety. So, to your point,
Haven't seen
it
it yet.
does. Yeah,
Yeah, it's literally just a t-shirt. My understanding is that they're actually going to preview the actual fight kits this upcoming week, a week before they
That makes
actually
sense.
debut in the
On the 10th.
octagon. So literally all we're seeing is like one of the t-shirts, because Ortega and if Jose, correct me if I'm wrong, Ortega and Aljamain have on the same shirt. I think it's just different colors, right?
Right, it's just different colors. I think one has
Yeah.
a black shirt on, one has a white shirt on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
will agree with Maria on her point of Venom is a respected brand within the community itself as opposed
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
Reebok. So they
Okay.
already have a name, they have a pedigree coming in, they make great apparel and gear. So I
Yeah.
mean, I would
It-
think that it would be different. I would hope. We'll
we'll see.
see.
Mhm.
Okay. But John, here comes your portion of Your
Uh-oh.
Honor. John, tell me why UFC fighters should consider a union to take back some of the control it appears
Mm.
they are losing with each deal Uncle Dana makes.
Hmm.
We got to unionize, boys.
There's a
Oh,
like man, I've been trying to work on an answer for this since we started doing the production work for this show, and I got to be honest, my initial
yeah.
answer is it won't work at all. They're
Okay.
independent contractors.
Hmm.
It's different than say any of the other sports leagues
Okay.
because they're all flying under one banner
Okay.
professionally.
Okay.
Whereas the UFC, all things considered, really all they are is a governing body. That's it.
Mhm.
They're the
Right.
MMA
Yep.
version of the WBC. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
Bellator's like the IBF and, so on and so on. You could work
Hmm.
your way down the chain. If they were treated like that, I think you would see these deals a lot differently. But, those leagues can do that because their statuses are different by just one word. They're employees. These guys the fighters are independent contractors. So you would have to change a lot going in, and there are too many independent mindsets within that group to get them all, I think, under one flag, under one, at least meeting in the middle for things of that nature. I just don't think it'll work. I
Well,
Not at
can
this
I
stage.
can I just piggyback real quick, because the other thing
Hmm.
about it too is it's prize fighting. And I think that's the part that people forget. If you are an employee, regardless of what type of company, whether it's, you're an athlete, you're this, you're that, you have a contract, you are paid a set amount.
Yeah.
There are very specific things that you must do to earn bonuses. It is
Yeah.
not the subjective thing that we have now, where based on however people feel about the fight is whether or not you get a fight of the night, performance of the night, what have you. No,
Yeah.
no, no. With all of these other sports organizations, it is very clear cut. You run for X number of miles or X number of yards in a season, you get this bonus. Or make the all-star team, you get this bonus. You cannot have that structure in prize fighting. So it leaves you in one or two places. Either they stay prize fighters and they make what they make and they can negotiate different amounts for different fights, or you make them all employees. They have a very set pay structure, and they will hate that. They'll be miserable because there is no, oh, well, I can book a fight with this person and make a lot more money.
I'll I'll
Um.
take it one step even further, just real quick, and make it
Yeah.
even more restrictive. It's not that they're governing bodies per se; it's
Yeah.
the fact that they are promotion
Right.
companies.
Correct.
So
Yep.
Correct.
once you
Yeah.
sign on the dotted line with
Yep.
them,
They got you.
they got you.
Yep. They got you.
So
Mm-hmm.
whatever they dictate to you, whatever deal
Right.
they sign with an
It is what it
outside,
is.
it is what it is.
It is
Reebok,
what it is.
Venom, uh, Proper 12, whoever.
Yeah.
is what it is.
You're tied to it. You're tied to it, right? To wrap, I know that we're starting to get some boxing fans that are starting to come over. Truth be told, when I started watching MMA a little while ago, I was years ago. At first, I got into it because I was a boxing fan, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, this seems like it's kind of up and coming. What is this about?" I really, really liked it. But what I will say is, this is the equivalent of not just if the WBC went out and signed fighters. This is the equivalent if Bob Arum signed fighters and then they could only fight against other Bob Arum fighters, and then that's your deal. So it's almost as if with inside Bob Arum, with inside Golden Boy, with inside all of those. So if you're signed with Golden Boy and you're Canelo Alvarez, you can only fight people under his contracts that are with Golden Boy. You could never fight a Bob Arum fighter. And so to your point, I think that's the issue. Could you imagine, I mean, and listen, there's already problems in the boxing world with fighters sometimes not getting it done and promoters just having to dick measure and shit. But regardless, it would be the same as if all Bob Arum fighters had to fight Bob Arum. And that's pretty much what it is. All Scott Coker Bellator fighters have to fight Scott Coker Bellator fighters. All Dana White UFC fighters fight Dana White UFC fighters. And it's just that's the way that it is. And so exactly. It's a different structure in MMA. And to your point, John, I do agree with you. I think that unless we get to the point where it's like boxing, where you can sign with a promoter, but technically the promoter doesn't have their own league. The promoter is just your promoter, and they're trying to get as much money for you, really for themselves, but for you as they can. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that is, I agree with you. Whether you make the union or not, it technically doesn't matter. You're actually an independent contractor right now. And the deal that you sign is actually with the promotion and also the league that you're in as well, which is, well, we'll see what happens though. All right. So let's get into the Terror Dome, round 3. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. And so, final round. Let's play What's the Scenario? So, here it is. Let's say you've got called up to the UFC in 2018 under the Reebok deal, and now you're under this Venum deal. John, over under $500,000 you lost in revenue deals as a fighter since 2018.
I would probably say over easily, depending upon over or under, depending upon where you are on the card, what deals you have with who, because you start to wonder, like sometimes even before all of this, the Reebok deal, you're like, how are some of these guys living their life and making the money and flashing the way they're flashing, because they're not fighting that often, and they're not getting paid that much. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's because they've got sponsorship deals all over the place, all over their shorts, their banners, and things like that. And then as soon as that Reebok deal hit, it all went away.
So let's use a name then. Let's because you're right, exactly. It depends. I'm going to throw Anderson Silva. Do you believe that Anderson Silva, someone like an Anderson Silva, got a little bit tapped on the chin? He got taxed when they went to this Reebok deal.
No.
Okay.
Because it's Anderson Silva.
Okay. So then
let me ask. He's got that Brazilian money. It got nothing to do with the UFC.
Okay, awesome. So then let me ask
you. You do notice that even during the Reebok deal, he would show up in the whatever football club gear that he had on, either in the cage or at weigh-ins.
Okay.
So
all right.
I mean,
so then let
Anderson
me use
was big dicking it from the jump.
So then let me use someone else then. Tim Kennedy.
Yeah, he lost money.
Okay.
He lost. Right. He probably lost. I mean, even though he was still getting an active duty paycheck at E7, I mean, it's good, but it ain't great depending upon where you're stationed. His endorsement deals is probably where he made most of his money as a fighter.
Right.
So when that restrictive deal came in, yeah, he probably lost a good amount of money easily.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I do find it interesting. Before we get to Maria's question, I do find it interesting that most people are like, when you look at who's asking for unionization, who's asking for equal pay, it's really funny that when the people that are in the middle, those middle fighters that you like but maybe can't break through, or they're always going to be gatekeepers, and you're like, why is it always them? And it's like, those are usually the guys that are getting squeezed by these Dana's deals. And so it's interesting to hear John Jones talking about respect through money. Well, brother, you're on the high end. Like, it's really, really difficult for the rest of us that are getting squeezed and pinched between $200,000 a fight to really respect you and Conor McGregor talking about money and I'm feeling disrespected when you're making the millions, bruh. Like, I'm here. So
Here,
it's interesting.
I don't disagree with you, but the problem is Maria touched on it earlier, is that these fighters, the ones that you just mentioned, they built their brands. And
Yeah,
and
that's true.
even fighters in other organizations, they're building brands. So that's
Yeah.
what it's on these fighters. At some point,
Mm-hmm.
we gotta stop holding hands and hold people accountable. You knew what you were getting into. You
Yeah,
signed the contract. The information is out there. Don't have a lot of sympathy for people anymore in this
that's
day and
fair.
age, anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
or also stop letting your buddy from high school be your manager and
Bow.
actually spend the money to have somebody who is a professional that understands the business and understands brand building manage your profession. Everybody talks
Absolutely.
shit about Ali, but what is he getting done for his fighters?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Gaethje and Habib in particular, tell you he had their back. So,
Oh,
um,
most the complaints about Ali are from people that aren't
right,
on
that
Ali's
aren't
He's
team.
key.
not right, that
Right.
he's not
Yeah, he
representing.
ain't repping it.
Exactly.
I've
Yep.
got my own issues with Ali or opinions, but his fighters love him. At
Yeah.
He
least all the ones that
secures
I've heard talk about him.
he secures the coin.
Yep.
Period.
And that's his
Wow,
job.
that's it.
Um,
That's all that matters.
so Maria, enter the Terror Dome. You are a woman fighter called up in 2018.
Ooh.
How is life better under Venom than Reebok?
Easy. Off the break, I'm making more funny. I mean more funny. Haha. More
Ah,
money. It's funny because I'm making more money. But it's better, number one, because I'm making more money. Period. The reality is that under this new deal, if I came up in 2014 and let's say I haven't been Angie Hill, right? Like, I've been active, but I ain't been that active. I'm
okay.
still making anywhere from 12.5 to 14.3% more in fight week bonus pay,
Mm,
or fight week incentive bonus pay, which is what this money that Venom pays the fighters
mm,
is called. So I'm making, a couple more $100, which equates to anywhere from a 12 to a 14.3% increase. Let's say that I'm middle of the road and I've fought like 6 to 10 times. I'm then getting the biggest increase from any tier
right.
in
Yeah,
this deal, because I'm getting a 20% increase because my pay is jumping from $5,000 to $6,000.
Yeah.
So the way that I see it is that at the end of the day, I'm getting cuter gear, because even like, you can go to Venom's website, even their women's line looks better than anything that Reebok's ever put out. So I'm
Fair.
not going to hate wearing it. And I'm making more money. Like, if this is the world that I live in, I can't really ask for a better deal than what's being put in front of me right now, considering everything else that we've discussed. So
Right.
I'm happy.
Right. Right. I also think that Venom, because they are a little bit more concentrated on MMA, I do know that if you go and you watch like you watch Invicta's, or you watch LFA, or even if you watch Bellator's women's division, there are some ladies that their background's Muay Thai. And it seemed like, okay, I get what you're saying, Reebok, that all the women should just have like these stretchy pants shorts and stuff like that. But some of the women have fought in Muay Thai shorts long, like that's just what they're comfortable in. And then
Mm-hmm.
you sign with the UFC and like, oh boy, now I get to wear this halter top and these like short and these boy short shorts, when really, just give me my Muay Thai shorts. I would really, really
Mm-hmm.
like to get my Muay Thai
Yep.
shorts back.
did
So
you
Yep.
did you notice that you Dominic Cruz initially had to get his shorts custom made
Yes.
because of the,
Yep.
you know what I mean? He
Mm-hmm.
would get those and have them unseamed and everything, and
Yep.
have them worked on until Reebok got their thumb out of their, and
Their
decided
asses.
to.
Right. No, I mean, listen, you're absolutely right. It's what happens when a company comes in and tries to take over, especially for a sport where you
That they
don't
don't
understand.
understand.
You don't
Yeah.
understand. There's a reason why certain fighters like Muay Thai shorts. There's a reason why certain fighters like board shorts. There's a reason why certain fighters like the skivvies. I mean, Anderson Silva, he was at home. He wore the skivvies before. He was going to wear the skivvies after. It didn't
Right.
matter.
It's
But
normal.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
normal.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it's
but
normal.
even one last thing on that, Reebok isn't even necessarily known for innovation
I guess
in
you're
their
right.
performance apparel. So like if you would have told me that this
Fair.
deal originally would have been with Nike or with Under Armour especially,
Fair.
that are
Fair.
really big on how their apparel affects performance,
That's
I
fair.
think that we would have had a very different outcome. But that's not Reebok's bread and butter. I don't
Yeah.
know what Reebok's bread and butter is nowadays, but it was a bad look in that regard.
Yeah. Allen Iverson is not walking back through that door, Reebok. You're not going to get the question 25s. So
Yeah.
you don't have my business ever again. So, all right, then. So thanks for tuning in. Those were our takes. Leave a comment to let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter at Bows Throwing. If you think we were completely off, we would love to know. If you think that you absolutely agree, let us know. We're willing to
Absolutely.
engage in discussion at any time. And so with that, that's what we think. We'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Bye,
See ya.
guys.